If you've ever finished field dressing a deer with a dull blade that just wouldn't cooperate, you already know why the right knife matters more than almost any other piece of gear you own. A good hunting knife saves you time, saves the meat, and honestly saves your patience out in the field. I dug through 8 of the top deer hunting knives and knife sets on the market right now and ranked them by how real hunters are actually rating them after using them. Starting the list at number 8 is the BLAYDZ gut hook knife, and even at the bottom of this ranking, it's a genuinely striking piece of gear. The blade is hand-forged Damascus steel with the classic wavy pattern, paired with a handle made from real deer antler that gives it a rugged, authentic look most knives in this price range can't match. It comes in at 8 inches overall with a 4-inch gut hook blade, and it ships with a leather sheath for easy carry in the field. The personal stories behind this knife are what make it worth watching. One buyer shared that his granddaughter picked this exact knife out as a Christmas gift for her dad, and after comparing it against pricier fixed blade options for a week, he ended up going with her choice anyway. As a retired machinist and metallurgist himself, he was pleasantly surprised by the build quality and reported that it holds an edge well. Another hunter said his kids loved the knife the moment they got their hands on it, calling the quality awesome. A reviewer who called it Damascus-ish but nice pointed out that while it may not be true multi-layered Damascus steel, it still looks the part and performs well for the price, describing it as sharp and versatile enough for everyday utility and hunting tasks. Someone else mentioned using it specifically as a deer knife, noting it arrived earlier than expected, looked exactly like the photos, and held a nice edge worth the money. Not every review was glowing. One buyer felt the knife was decent overall but wasn't impressed with the sheath design. Still, with a 4.4-star rating, this knife earns its spot as a solid budget entry into Damascus-style hunting blades. What keeps it at number 8 is simply review volume. It's newer to the market and hasn't built the track record yet. The next knife on our list has nearly double the reviews and comes from a buyer base that's been putting it through hunting seasons specifically for skinning work, which is exactly the kind of specialized use case we want to see before moving up the list. Moving up to number 7, the FAIQENTERPRICE Skinner takes the Damascus concept and refines it further. This one features a hand-forged blade made from 1080 and 15N20 high-carbon steel, folded multiple times to create a 288-layer pattern that's genuinely shatter-resistant for demanding outdoor use. The handle is made from a resin material with an American flag design pressed into it, giving it a distinctive look, and it comes with a cowhide leather sheath complete with a belt loop and snap lock for secure carry. What stands out here is how many buyers picked this knife specifically as a gift. One reviewer said the knife arrived well packaged in oil and wrapped to protect the blade, with a perfect weight and a handle she described as beautiful, and the person she gave it to loved it. Another buyer ordered a batch of these specifically for Christmas presents, calling the knife itself really nice, even though the included case felt a bit cheap. A third reviewer simply called it sharp, a nice size, and good-looking. One buyer flagged that the blade had a few minor edge imperfections out of the box, but said a quick pass on a wet stone fixed it right up, and he planned to put it through its paces during hunting season. Another reviewer specifically highlighted it as a great option for young or beginner hunters, describing it as very sturdy. There was some pushback too. One buyer felt the belt loop on the sheath ran a little small for a comfortable fit. But overall, at 4.5 stars, this knife edges out the BLAYDZ thanks to a more advanced layered steel construction and a sheath system that's actually built for daily carry rather than just display. With 62 reviews, it's still an emerging pick, but the next knife on our list nearly doubles that number and brings a completely different steel type into the mix, one designed from the ground up specifically for gutting and field dressing rather than general skinning. At number 6, the ODENWOLF Hunter 2 shifts the conversation toward purpose-built field dressing performance. This is a single-piece 420 steel fixed-blade knife rated at 50 HRC hardness, designed in Germany with a focus on rust resistance and easy sharpening even without much practice. The thermoplastic elastomer handle is built specifically to stay non-slip during messy, rough work, and it locks securely into a polypropylene sheath that clips onto a belt. The hunting-specific feedback here is where this knife really separates itself from the previous 2 picks. One buyer gifted this knife to his son, who used it to gut a deer and reported back that it cut extremely well and that he genuinely liked having the gut hook feature built in. Another reviewer called it his go-to deer gut knife, saying it fits well in the hand, holds its edge, and sits securely in its sheath between uses. A third buyer described it as an awesome deer knife that holds a sharp edge, feels durable, and gets real use out of that gut hook during processing. One reviewer said it was the sharpest knife he'd ever taken straight out of a box, and another simply called it a great knife that's extremely sharp and easy to grip. The one recurring complaint involves the sheath's belt clip, which one buyer said tends to pop off the belt during hikes. Even with that flaw, the ODENWOLF pulls ahead of the previous 2 picks because its reviews consistently mention actual deer gutting and field dressing use, not just general sharpness and look. At 4.5 stars and 115 reviews, it's proven itself specifically for the task this whole list is about. But the next knife on our countdown jumps into the hundreds of reviews and brings decades of brand history behind it, along with a story from a reviewer whose uncle carried the exact same design as his favorite game knife for years. Number 5 is where this list starts feeling like it's dealing with knives that have real staying power. The old-timer Deerslayer is a 10.5-inch fixed blade knife with a 5.6-inch clip point blade made from high-carbon stainless steel, a saw-cut handle for grip, and a genuine leather belt sheath. It's backed by Old Timer's lifetime warranty, and over 50 buyers picked one up in the past month alone, a sign that this classic design still has real staying power in 2026. The personal stories attached to this knife are some of the most compelling on the list. One reviewer explained that his uncle carried an original version of this exact knife every time he went hunting, and it was his favorite blade for dressing, skinning, and quartering large game. Another buyer said he grew up using a similar knife and was thrilled to receive this one as a Christmas gift, praising the sheath, the sharp edge, and the lasting construction, and noting it works just as well in the kitchen as it does processing wild game. A longtime knife collector said this brand blew him away with its quality, describing it as arriving razor sharp and staying that way. Someone who already owns smaller old-timer skinning knives decided to size up to the Deerslayer and was pleasantly surprised by how it performed, describing it as arriving arm-shaving sharp with excellent balance for the price. A few reviewers gave a more technical breakdown, pointing out the steel isn't quite the premium grade some listings imply, but agreed it takes an edge easily and holds it reasonably well for the cost. At 4.6 stars and 700 reviews, this knife earns its place through decades of trusted brand reputation and genuine field use stories. What pushes the next knife ahead isn't just a slightly higher review count, it's a full multi-tool field dressing kit that adds an axe, a saw, and processing accessories that this single fixed blade simply doesn't offer. Number 4 brings us to our first full field dressing system on the list, and the jump in capability is immediate. This GVDV set includes a one-handed axe, a caping knife, a butcher knife, a gut-hook skinning knife, a carbide sharpener, a wood and bone saw, a fishing hook, a ribcage spreader, a cutting board, cleaning gloves, nylon rope, cable ties, and a hard carry case. Essentially everything needed to process a deer from field to freezer in one kit. Over 50 buyers picked this setup in the past month. The reviews reflect just how complete this kit feels in real use. One buyer said her stepson absolutely loves the set, describing the knife as razor sharp, and every included tool is well made. Another reviewer joked about the camo pattern being almost too effective, noting the tools blend in a little too well once you're actually out in the woods. A third buyer highlighted the sharpness across the board, calling it functional even for experienced hunters. The most detailed review came from a buyer who purchased the kit for her cousin after her husband had struggled through the previous deer season with mismatched knives, and both her cousin and her husband were genuinely excited once they saw the quality and organization of the case. Another longtime reviewer praised the ridged handle grip, specifically for staying secure even when hands are covered in blood while cleaning a deer, and said the carrying case held up well and cleaned easily afterward. A few buyers noted the knives didn't arrive with gloves included despite expecting them, and one felt the included sharpener was on the lower quality side, though it still got the job done. At 4.8 stars and 733 reviews, this kit edges ahead of the old-timer by offering a complete purpose-built system rather than a single blade, giving hunters everything from skinning to bone sawing in one case. The next set on our list nearly doubles this review count and adds even more specialized tools, including a butcher axe and a game shear that this kit doesn't include. At number 3, KNINE Outdoors brings an even more expansive kit into the mix, and with over 200 buyers picking this setup in the past month, it's clearly resonating with hunters heading into deer season. The 12-piece set includes a boning knife, a gut-hook skinner, a hawkbill blade knife, a caping knife, a gut-hook butcher axe, a skinning cleaver, a bone saw, a ribcage spreader, a game shear, a portable cutting board, a combination knife and shear sharpener, and cleaning gloves, all housed in one organized case. The field reports on this set are detailed and largely positive. One buyer wrote an extensive review praising nearly every tool in the kit, describing the knives as arriving sharp with a genuinely non-slip grip, and calling the whole set a great value and a great gift for any hunt. Another reviewer said her husband loved the set so much he keeps it permanently stored in his truck so he never forgets it before a hunting trip, and reported that everything about it works exactly as expected. A particularly thorough review came from a buyer who used the entire kit to field dress and butcher a white-tailed deer, explaining that the bone saw cut through hip and leg bone with ease, the gut-hook knife became his favorite tool for most of the job, and the boning knife handled the finer work well, though he did find the included skinning cleaver underwhelming and not especially sharp. Another hunter singled out this skinning knife's rounded, sharpened tip as ideal for reaching tight spots during deer processing, noting it stayed sharp through multiple animals before needing a touch-up. The honest picture includes that skinning cleaver critique showing up more than once, along with a note that a couple of the more specialized tools go largely unused by casual hunters. Still, at 4.7 stars and 1,380 reviews, this set pulls ahead of the GVDV 14-piece kit thanks to its wider tool variety and consistently detailed hands-on deer processing reviews. The next set on our list has even more reviews behind it, a nearly identical price point, but a tighter, more focused 6-piece lineup that reviewers say makes it easier to grab and go. Number 2 goes to a leaner GVDV set, and the jump to 1,865 reviews shows just how many hunters have gravitated toward a simpler, more focused kit. This 6-piece set trims things down to an 8.1-inch caping knife, a gut hook skinner, a 9.6-inch boning and fillet knife, a ribcage spreader, cleaning gloves, and a hard side case. Instead of trying to be everything, it focuses on the core tools most hunters actually reach for during field dressing. The reviews reflect a consistently high level of satisfaction with the essentials done well. One buyer called it deer hunting made easy, praising the handle quality, the material, and the beauty of the blades, and said she'd recommend the set without hesitation. Another simply said it was a great set for hunting. Full stop. One reviewer gave more specific and detailed feedback, saying the set exceeded her expectations entirely. The blades stayed razor sharp through various outdoor tasks, the ergonomic handles offered comfortable and precise control, and the knives showed minimal wear even after repeated rigorous use, making the versatility across different blade types stand out as genuinely suited for a range of hunting needs. A buyer who gifted the set said the recipient loved it immediately, describing it as working perfectly, arriving sharp, and feeling great in the hand with a grip that holds up well. Not every review was perfect. One buyer felt the knives needed sharpening out of the box, describing them as nice, but a little dull for her liking. Even so, at 4.8 stars, this is one of the highest-rated products on the entire list, and with far more reviews than anything else in the top half of our countdown except for one. What separates it from the top spot isn't quality, it's sheer scale. The number 1 knife set on this list has more than triple the review count of this one, and it's not particularly close. Number 1, and it isn't close, is the Mossy Oak 8-piece field dressing kit. With 6,006 reviews and a 4.7-star rating, plus over 200 buyers picking one up in the past month, this is the single most validated deer hunting knife set on the market right now. The kit includes an 8.7-inch wooden bone saw with a blunt hook tip designed to avoid puncturing the bladder or intestines, a steel rib spreader, a 7.5-inch caping knife, a 9.5-inch gut hook skinner, a 10-inch boning knife, a tungsten carbide V sharpener, and a set of red game cleaning gloves, all built with full tang stainless steel construction. The volume and depth of hunting-specific feedback here is simply unmatched by anything else on this list. One buyer said the kit offers excellent value, holds an edge well, and that her husband reaches for the skinning knife more than any other tool in the set during hunts. Multiple reviewers described buying this specifically as a gift, including one who gave it to her father for Christmas and reported he loved the organization and solid quality of every piece, and another who gifted it to a nephew who's an avid hunter and immediately recognized what each individual tool was designed for. The most detailed review on the entire list comes from a buyer with 25 years of commercial kitchen experience who wanted a dedicated set just for hunting to avoid cross-contaminating his good kitchen knives. He successfully processed an entire deer from field to freezer using only this kit. The caping knife, boning knife, and bone saw handled field dressing and quartering. The gut hook was mainly useful for opening the hide, and the fillet knife alone handled all the actual meat processing, with zero issues around sharpness or grip, even when the tools got wet. Another reviewer noted a slight machine oil smell out of the box, which he washed off and replaced with mineral oil before use, after which the knives performed sharp and reliable through his first deer. A few buyers pointed out the plastic storage case lacks drain holes and can retain water if not dried carefully, something one hunter solved by drilling extra holes himself. Even with that minor design quirk, the sheer weight of positive, detailed, real-world hunting feedback across thousands of reviews is what earns Mossy Oak the top spot on this list. It beats every other product here, not just on review count, but on the sheer breadth and consistency of hunters confirming it gets the job done from field to freezer. That's the full list of the 8 best deer hunting knives for 2026, ranked from the newest contenders all the way up to the set that thousands of hunters keep coming back to season after season. Links to every single knife and kit on this list are in the description below. If you're just getting started, the Mossy Oak kit at number 1 gives you the most complete, most proven package for the money. If you already have your field dressing tools sorted and just need one dependable fixed blade, the old-timer Deer Slayer at number 5 is the one with generations of trust behind it.